Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. So today our group will be presenting the final project on varieties of English language. Before we start, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Muhammad Haziq Izwambi Ademale, IDI 2402078.
Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Afifa Wida Sabiha Hassan binti Riza from DC5C and my ID number is IDI 2402064.
Hi, I'm Nurmazatul Akmal binti Muhammad Jasmi, IDI 2402037.
Name is Muhammad Shafira Iman Chu bin Shoy Nizam Chu. My ID number is IDI 2402029.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Safa Akbar bin Musakam, IDI 2402090.
So our group will be exploring the unique landscape of English in two distinct nations. And our purpose is to understand how English is as a global tool and how it is adapted and integrated into the everyday speech of these nations. So, in order to do this, we are using the Kaichiru's three circles model. So, basically, the Kaichiru's three circles model is a framework for understanding the global spread of English, categorizing its speakers into three concentrated circles based on how the language was acquired and used. There is three circles: the inner circle, the outer circle, and the expanded circle. And our group already chosen the expanded circle, which is Azerbaijan and Venezuela. So our main focus is on their phonological feature on English.
So, for now, let's go to the phonological features of the Azerbaijan English. So here is my interviewee. He is Timur Zuif. His name is Timur Zuif. His age 20 and currently in Baku, Azerbaijan. And his occupation, which is a student in a French Azerbaijani university, which is for the short term is OFAS. And the reason why we chose Azerbaijan is that it is a multilingual context because Azerbaijan is a multilingual country. It is providing a unique environment to study how English interacts with other local languages like Azerbaijan and Russian. The other reason is the unique linguistic features is that the country offers a distinct English accent and unique speaking styles for analysis, and there also cultural integration, which is the subject. Our Timor with here represent a generation striving for integration into Western culture, and the European Union, which directly impacts their motivation for learning English. For the last one is the education alignment. The choice highlights educational collaboration, such as with the French Azerbaijani University for short term UFAS, which shows how the country is aligning with the international standards. So we are going to the history and status. For the part one, which is how English is introduced. And to truly understand English, um, we have to look at the historical landscape before 1991. For decades, Azerbaijan was part of the Soviet Union, and during this time, Russian was the prestige, like a dominant language. It was a language of the government law, government language of government law, and highlight high level education. English at this time is very rare, incredibly rare, and it was introduced only in a very specific scientific or trade context. If you spoke English back then, you were likely a top tier scholar or a diplomat. And for the average student, not student, a citizen in Baku, English was a distinct language, something that can only be here in foreign radio or elite academic circle, you know. So, um, so the turning point in Azerbaijan English is that it changed after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And this is the most critical part of our study. When Azerbaijan gained independence, there was a massive cultural and political shift that the nation wanted to redefine its identity away from the Soviet past. So they didn't just want to independence, they wanted to integration. They looked toward the European Union and the United States. So this is when English was introduced, like not just as a subject, but as a symbol of freedom and modernization. And the government realized that to compete to English globally, the next generation has had to speak the language of the world. And next, we are going to look at the part two, which is the current status. Uh, the current status for Azerbaijan English is that from luxury to necessity. The reason is English was shifted from being a luxury for elite scholar back then to a necessity for modern urban population. And it is also for the educational role because it is a mandatory subject in the national curriculum for primary schools and the universities. And it also the language of the youth. Younger generation are much more inclined to use English than older generation. Because of our social media and because of and now we are going to the example here is that how they teach in primary school and the universities.
I guess the Azerbaijan is always trying to get out of the like the Asia stereotype country. So we're always trying to get to the European unions. And for example, my university is cooperation of our state university and French Strasbourg University. So we're trying to go to the Europe, to the West. So we're integrating English into our lives. Even in primary school, we're studying English. So yeah, we're studying English in our schools as universities, but I don't meet English speakers on the streets or in public places. Usually, the only people that speak English are tourists from somewhere. So, native Azerbaijanis don't speak English. It's really rare. Only young people, generations. So, as I said, I don't meet anyone speaking English in public places, so I don't even need to switch to English. Usually, I'm talking in English in my university with French professors and with everyone who doesn't speak Russian because it's easier for me to switch to English than Azerbaijani because it's simply more comfortable for me. So only at the university and online, like here on interviews, or for example, when I tried to apply to international companies like geology, oil fields companies, they always do interviews in English.
And for the part 3 is the reflection is that the history shows a shift from English being a luxury for elite scholar to a necessity for the modern urban population. So now we are going to expanding influence, how the Azerbaijan English expand its influence. The interview likely views English as a vital tool due to influence on the English learning, with the American English being more permanent due to geographical proximity and cultural media such as music and films. And influence is that it is expanding due to digital economy and the desire for high-paying jobs in multinational companies. And our group found that English is no longer just a subject in school. Uh, it has become a lifestyle choice for younger generations in the country. Okay, now we are going to the phonological features for the Azerbaijan English. And our hypothesis one is the stress on consonants. And the statement is that Azerbaijan English is Azerbaijan English speakers tend to place a heavy stress on consonant due to a strong consonant articulation found in their native language. And the example we focus is that better, uh, better, clear T, not a flap, which is better. Think, is pronounced in T in better very clearly as a stop sound rather than a flap, or pronouncing think as a think without th sound. I'm going to show you the clip for the how Timo explained to us. If you look at the clip, when Timo said the word think, he doesn't use the soft th sound where the tongue goes under the teeth. Instead, because of the influence of his native tongue, he used a sharp dental T. So it sounds more like think, uh, think, not think. In some cases, depending on whether the speakers is more influenced by Russian or Azerbaijani. You might also hear them say sync with an S sound. But in our research with Timo, we focus on the stress of the consonant, and where think become think, and this become this or this. And this is a perfect example for the mother L1 interference, like mother tongue, where the rules of the first language are forced onto English, creating a unique variety within the expanding circle.
But when you ask me about my pronunciation, I was trying to tell it in both ways, better, but I find that I'm used to say better. It's more like D.
So we are going to the hypothesis 2, which is the rhythm and the intonations. And is that the one of the one of the most fascinating findings in our study of Timor is rhythm of his speech. In linguistics, we call this a staccato rhythm. Unlike a native speaker who has a steady, flowing pace, an Azerbaijani speaker's pace is often uneven. So they speak very quickly for three words, then stop approximately like slowly drag out the next word. This isn't because they don't know the language. It is because of the mental translation gap. Timur explained to us that when he speaks English, he isn't thinking in English yet, but he is thinking in his native language, which is the Azerbaijani or Russian. And then his brain has to translate that thought into English before he can say it. This create pacing issues. You will hear him speed up when he find a familiar word and then slow down significantly when he hits a complex grammar rule. To avoid sounding like a robot, he used a technique called elongation. Uh, he stretched out his vowels to give his brain time to catch. I'm going to show you the clip where he describes these internal struggles.
I don't speed up for sure because I need to think before telling something because my vocabulary is not that big. But even now, my vocabulary, I said it much faster than maybe it should be. So I can tell that it's not that with one rhythm. I always speed up and slow down because it's hard for me to directly create sentences in English. I firstly try to think about something in Russian, translate it into English, and try to put words in the sentence in the right way. So I always have to slow down in some parts.
And now we are going to the conclusion, which is the globalization and lingua franca. So how it spread? The English in Russian is as a result of the language where it spread not through migration, but through education and globalization. So English as a lingua franca is that the speaker use English to communicate with people neither native English speakers nor Russian speakers. For example, like at a business conference or on holiday. For the justification is that this proof that English has moved beyond its original border to become a shared global tool for functional communication.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. Today I'm going to be presenting about phonological features of Venezuelan English. Okay, so this is our subject or our interviewee background. His name is Leonardo Barzan. He is 19 years old, lives in Venezuela. He is a student in Universidad Jose Antonio Paez, UJAP. Okay, so we're moving on to the first slide. Why we choose Venezuela? Okay, so basically Venezuela is a cultural circle requirement. Venezuela is a key country in the expanding circle, which follows a proper comparison with Azerbaijan since they both belong to the same circle. Second reason is because it provides a perfect linguistic contrast to show how different native phonologies, Spanish versus Russian Azerbaijan, influence, where localized English varieties develop. Okay, so moving on to the first part, how English is introduced in his country. So the first reason, he said that the oil industry is like, unlike many places where English spread through schools, English in Venezuela was heavily driven by the petroleum industry throughout the 20th century. And the second reason is the economic ties. So basically, strong economic relations with the United States facilitated the early spread of the language. Next, the media influence. So basically, American English became prominent due to geographical proximity and cultural media like music and also films. The second part is the current status. So, the first point is foreign language status. English is not an official language in Venezuela, but it is categorized as a foreign language. So basically, people in Venezuela, they didn't talk in English because their main language is Spanish. Next, high social value. It holds significant social and professional value for those seeking high-paying jobs in multinational companies. And the third status is educational gap. While it is a mandatory subject in secondary education, there is a large development gap. Private bilingual schools in cities like Caracas have their own historically been the main drivers of actual fluency. Reflection. So basically, our group observed that political and economic shifts have impacted the accessibility of formal English education in recent years. So, moving on to the next slide, expanding influence. Okay, so the first point, the oil influence. Unlike many countries where English spread through British schools, English in Venezuela was heavily driven by the petroleum industry. The second one is the academic status. Like I said just now, English is a mandatory subject, but it's not their main subject because they speak Spanish. And the third one, private versus public. So like I just said just now, that there is a large gap in development, like such as private bilingual schools in city like Caracas. They have historically been main drivers of English fluency.
The first question, how did English first come to your country, Venezuela?
Because of United States and the oil industry. That why we have some English.
So because you live in near the United States, you will learn English from there.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay, so for the next question, how English is used? Okay, is English widely used in your country nowadays?
Is generally used in remote work and social media.
Social media.
So people from Venezuela just using English in social media, not in real life.
Now, is the way to say English in, for example, photo is something.
Okay.
Is a way.
Okay. So the next question. In what situations do people usually use English in your country? What situation people speak English in your country?
Okay. Education, reading another case is reading manuals, work, video games, and other stuff.
Other stuff. Okay. Next. Do you think your Venezuelan Spanish accent influence the way you pronounce English words?
Can you repeat again the question?
Do you think your Venezuelan Spanish accent influence the way you pronounce English words?
No.
Features. So our first hypothesis is vowel-lang distinction. So Venezuelan English speakers struggle with distinction between short and long vowels because these differences do not exist in their main language, which is Spanish. So for an example, they have the difficulty of distinguishing between the vowel sounds in sheep and also sheep. So it's hard for them to recognize which is which.
Are there any English sounds that do not exist in Spanish that you find difficult?
Yes. Mostly, sorry if it's of but vowels. Telling the difference between short and long vowels is so. For example, cheap and cheap, or bite and bit.
The second hypothesis is consonant transfer, or the R sound. Okay, so basically Venezuelan English pronunciation is heavily influenced by Spanish phonology, and specifically leading to a stronger or the thicker the R word is articulate at the front of their mouth. For an example, pronouncing the English R with more force, similar to Spanish R, rather than the softer English retroflex R, like R or R.
Is there any difference between the English R and Spanish R?
Oh, yes. Spanish R is strong and pronounced at the front of the mouth, while in English R is soft and pronounced further back in the throat.
Yeah, can you say one Spanish word with an R in it?
Oh, okay. Raro.
Rado.
Yes. That means very strange.
Okay, and the question is,
And as the conclusion, globalization and lingua franca. Okay, so English in Venezuela is a result of globalization of trade and the digital era rather than colonial settlement. English as lingua franca. Leonardo used Leonardo uses English as a common language to communicate with peers or employers globally, regardless of their native tongue. So, Leonardo, he used English as a common language to communicate with peers or employers globally, regardless of their native tongue. So, Leonardo, he used English as a communication language between him and also his peers or his friends. So for this justification, this confirms that English serves a functional tool for global connection in Venezuela. Or we can say that English is a lingua franca language in Venezuela. How it used as a lingua franca. So in both countries, English is now used as a shared global tool for communication between people who don't share the same native language. Like speakers from Malaysia meet speakers from Spanish, and we both don't speak each other's language, so we use English to communicate, such as in multinational companies or international tourism. So this is the main conclusion. This studies compares the phonological features and communication style in Venezuelan English and Azerbaijan English. The focus is on consonant stress, vowel stress, and differences in tone and also rhythm. The findings highlight how speakers' first language influence their English pronunciation and how cultural context shapes the way meaning is delivered and also understood. So by examining these differences, the comparison helped us to see that English is not only spoken in only one standard way, but instead it also exists in many varieties that reflect local languages' identities and also communication norms. Understanding these variations is important in the study of word Englishes because it promotes better cross-cultural awareness, mutual understanding, and respect for different ways of speaking English. So this is our references. That's all from me. Thank you.